golden days drifting far away. Light is leaving town. Colors fade, but I'm thinking we stay just for a little while. Let's lose track of time, darling. Stay for a little longer while I hold your time. We'll wait, so just rest your head upon my shoulder. Know you're thinking that way. It's colder, but the day's not over yet.
This here is certainly not the most ergonomic position to be making kindling wood. When we took over this place, we had an open fireplace in the living room, but we hadn't really used it because, an open fire in the middle of the living room, we wasn't too sure about that. Also, most of the heat would go to waste. So, as you may have seen in a video or two ago, we have had a fireplace insert installed, and we're extremely happy about that. Not just because it feels a lot safer to actually use the fireplace, but also because we actually get to take advantage of most of the heat generated from the firewood. But since we had that fireplace insert installed in just a couple of weeks ago, I've been making lots of trips to go get firewood from out here in the stables, where there's a lot of old dusty firewood laying. And when you light a fire, you of course also need some smaller pieces to start the fire with. So I've been out and bought this chopper thing here along with a hammer so that I can make kindling wood to start the fire in the fireplace. But yeah, so far I've just had it staying here on the ground, and I'm not very sure it's very good for the stones here, and also it's really uncomfortable to be sitting here and chopping firewood. So I got an idea, because as you may be able to tell, there are actually screw holes here in this kindling cracker thing. So I got an idea, because in the garden we had 5 big trees cut down and all the firewood is still laying out there, which I need to start processing very soon. But why not take a couple of the big slabs from those trees and put them here and mount this one onto there, so I can actually have a more comfortable working position for making kindling firewood. I was thinking about using maybe the 2 bottom ones, because maybe 3 will be too high, or maybe not. Maybe I should bring all 3 and see in the stables what makes sense. I actually think that 3 wood slabs high are a pretty nice working height for this project. So I think I'm gonna try that out. And now I just need to screw these in so it's stable. Very nice working height for this actually. Now I just need to find a better system for what I do with all this kindling firewood instead of just having it fall to the ground. But first step of optimizing this process is done. And one day soon I really should do a whole batch so that I don't have to do this every time I get firewood to the house. During this year, I have followed along with the sugar beets on the field just outside our property. From they were tiny sprouts to when they got harvested just a few weeks ago. The harvesting machine was really fascinating to watch as it quickly worked its way through the entire field and for every lane piled up the beets neatly by the road, ready for trucks to come and take them to the sugar factory. And that time is now. As with the harvesting machine, I'm again amazed at how it's possible to build specialized machines that solve a very specific task so well. It takes just a few short minutes to fill up an entire truckload. So naturally, the trucks are lined up, ready to drive forward and take the place of the one that just left for the sugar factory. So I guess that concludes the story about the sugar beets. It'll be 3 seasons before they plant beets on this field again. But stay tuned for the spring. I can probably not help myself in showing you what pops up on the field. As you may have seen in some of my previous videos, we have had 5 big trees cut down out here in the garden. This property here hasn't been tended to in several decades and everything is very overgrown. And the entire property was also really dark because there's a lot of trees and these trees has just grown and grown and grown through the decades and almost taken over the entire property. So in order to get a little bit of light in on the property, we have had 5 of the closest trees to the house cut down so that we will get a little more light. And don't worry, there are plenty of trees on this property still. And now that we have had a fireplace insert installed in the living room, we certainly can need this firewood, but it of course needs to be cut up and dried for a season before we can use it. And I think I better get started on that project because we're in December now and it's raining a lot. And all this firewood needs to be chopped up and laid to dry. So I'll start this process today of dealing with all this firewood, and I actually think that I would categorize all of this wood here in like 4 different categories. The worst and the biggest, the one with the most work I think, are these very huge slabs of tree. These are actually just been cut from this tree here, and there's actually an extra slab here that I don't think he has managed to completely loosen from the trunk. This will be hard work, I think. I have bought some wood splitting edges for these that I'll try a little later to see how easy or how hard they are to split into smaller bits. So that's category 4. Category 3, which they will turn into, is this type of wood that are already in a size where they'll be able to go into a wood splitting machine. And such a machine I'm planning to buy in just a few days, so that won't be long until I'm ready to work with these types of trunks as well. And then we work ourselves down to category 2, and that's actually the category or the type of wood that I wanna test out this wood cutting sawbuck with today, because that's all these thicker branches that are lying right here. That doesn't need to be split, they just need to be cut into smaller sizes so that they can be laid to dry and then go directly in our fireplace. And category 1, the smallest, is of course all of these branches I have lying here in the back. That needs to go into a wood chipper, and all those wood chips I'm going to place over here in what used to be the kitchen garden, because this area is a lot lower than the rest of the property. And that means that every winter when it rains a lot of water gathers here, and I think that's what killed those 2 apple trees that were placed exactly right here in the low spot. So in order to avoid that in the future, we are planning to hopefully raise the ground here a little with all of these wood chips. But before I'm ready for that, I still need to clear out a lot of bush and clean all of this up a little better. But as mentioned, I think I'll try this wood cutting sawbuck with these thicker branches now. And I'm going to try it with my electric chainsaw and see how fast and efficient I can make it. And all of this wood here I'm planning to place down in this corner of the property. I have a couple of pallets that I think I'll place here. I of course need to get more, but for now I think I have 2 or 3 that I will place here and then put all the wood onto here. And this of course also needs to get a little type of roof put on it so that it doesn't rain directly on the wood. But all of that is to come very, very soon. But right now I'll test out this wood cutting sawbuck and see what the process of that is. I think that's, yeah, it's pretty easy. Well, easy and easy, but that went pretty fast with that one. So let me fill this wheelbarrow a little more and then I'll go and get one of the first pallets in order to place them down in the corner of the property. I'm not really sure if there's a system to this. Not to mine, but I mean in general, if there's a good way to do it. There probably is. I don't know what it is. I just know that they're supposed to get a lot of air circulation, so it shouldn't be stacked too hard. And of course this, I won't be able to stack that very high until it starts rolling off. So, but I think I'll go get, these are the only 2 pallets I have. So I need to go get a lot more. And I've seen ads online where you can get a lot of these pallets for almost free. So I think I'll go get a lot of those and then maybe put in one in each end, and then maybe a crossbar where I can place a sort of a roof somehow, if that makes sense. So yeah, a small start to this. I'll do some research about where to get some more pallets, and now I think I'll try to see how difficult or easy it is to chop some of these larger wooden slabs. And I have been out shopping, getting some various tools to try this project with. I've gotten some of these wood splitting wedges, and also 2 different sizes of hammers. I'm not sure what will work best. I thought maybe the big one, but maybe that'll be too hard to work with in the long run because of the weight. I'm not sure. So 2 different hammers, and of course some eye protection wear from the garage. And I'm thinking that I will try to tackle some of these larger wedges, wooden slabs that are right here. They are pretty big, not too thick. I should try and measure them so I can see exactly how thick are they. I would say probably around 25-27 centimeters in width there. That was pretty close. 29 centimeters. Let's check the other one here. I think it says 27 for this one. So let me try and take these 2 now and see how that goes. This here is definitely a shortcut to getting warm if you're freezing. Oh my lord. But have a look here. It's actually cracking this large wooden slab. I've watched a couple of YouTube tutorials on how to do this, and at first I started in here, but then I remembered that you have to start from the edge actually. So and after a few hits, maybe like 20 hits or something, it's actually starting to crack. So I think I'll drive this one further down and put some more along this edge here. And I actually think that the smaller one is easier to handle. Maybe it's a question about practice and strength, and I probably need both. Whoa, did you hear that? That's the sound of wood giving way. A huge wedge has formed here. So I'll give this one a couple of more whacks, and then I'll put this in as well. Whoa, I wonder if I'm able to just, no, it's still, maybe if I get it up, standing up. There's not much holding it together. You can see the one wedge down there, and it's like only these small pieces of wood that are actually holding it together, so it's not really a lot. But instead of fighting this huge piece, I actually think I'll start cutting this one in half as well, so that I am reducing the weight of each piece, and then it might be easier to rip them apart. And I'll start from the edge. Good thing I bought 5 of these. And this one went quite quickly. Not completely separated, but very close. I think this wedge is loose, yeah. And I'd almost think that these slabs here are now in a size where I would be able to get them into the wood splitting machine that I'm buying very soon. I think I'll divide this over here, and then hopefully 4 pieces would be enough and I'll be able to get them separated. Let's see. So now I have 4 of my 5 wedges in there. One is down there, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is there. So let me see if I can get these 4 pieces pulled apart now. This is definitely somewhat of a workout. I can recommend this. Holy moly. Okay, so now I have 4 pieces. I think this here is definitely the largest piece, and yeah, it's fine. So that was the first slab. I'll do number 2 as well, but I can already tell now this is not something you're gonna do all day long. You might take 2, maybe 4 slabs in a day, and then you need to do something else, at least until I get some more muscles. I'm not sure what the right technique here is to get it to stick without smashing your hand at some point. This one's starting to crack now as well. Ooh, this is working. I think I'll have to try the big one, the big hammer. Holy smokes. This one came loose. I think this piece now is loose, maybe. Yeah. Ah, great. I needed that win. I'm so happy right now. I said I only would do 2 slabs. This is a tough job. Luckily I only have like 100 more to go, if not more. I should count them. I just did a very loose counting of these big wooden slabs, but it's hard to know exactly how many of them to count, because these big enough to be counted as well. And also along this whole line here, there are some that are hidden, I think, under all of these piles of wood. So, but my loosely count says somewhere between 60 and 80 of these very big ones. So yeah, I've got my work cut out for me, and I think 2 to 4 is the maximum in one day. And then you can of course do other things as well. But if I do, let's say 2 a day, and maybe 4 days a week, 8, and that means I'll need 10 weeks in order to do that's 2.5 months. Oh my, yeah. So this concludes my testing for today with this new sawbuck, and also the testing of how easy or hard it is to divide these wooden slabs. And I wouldn't say it's hard technically, but it's hard physically, because you really have to put a lot of strength into it, and it does take some time. I would say once I get going, I might be able to do 1 slab in like 10 to 15 minutes. But that'll be 10 to 15 minutes of really hard labor. So I for sure have my work cut out for me with all this wood, but it's also fun to have this large of a project to get started on. So I think the next step is that I'll be buying a wood splitter, and then I'll take a couple of large slabs each day, some of the rounds on the sawbuck to cut up with the motor saw, and then also something with the wood splitter for these larger trunks that need to be made smaller into firewood pieces. And then I think I'll save the project with wood chipping all of these branches for a later date when I've dealt with all this firewood, because I think the firewood now is getting really, really wet with all this rain and wet weather we have this winter so far. So and these branches can easily wait. So if you want to follow along how it goes with me trying to process all of this firewood in the upcoming videos, along with a lot of other projects of course, be sure to subscribe if you aren't already. And I think this is a good place to end the video, but I'll of course be back very, very soon, and I hope to see you there.